It's Super Bowl Sunday. In the first round, we hit 500 subscribers. Let's start the show.
You're tuned in to the hottest sports analysis of the week with your hosts Ron Dolbeck and Chris Roberts. And now, here's the first round.
I've got confetti all over me on a Sunday, and for good reason. One, we have a Super Bowl finally that's here. And two, Chris and I and the staff here at the first round have finally hit 500 subscribers. So thank you so much to all of our new subscribers out there. Chris, I don't know what's making me happier, the success that we're having with the show or the fact that the Super Bowl is actually here, which kind of makes me sad because my team's not in it today. But we're still the Super Bowl champs.
Yes, they're not in there. Yes, finally.
I can't believe you. Why are you going to be happy about that, man?
No, I have to wear this hat, man.
Why do you have to wear that hat? Just admit it like a man.
Because, man, I forgot, all the names to Joe Robbie Stadium. They had about 40 of them.
The answer is because you lost trivia, boo.
Yeah.
So you got to wear some gear.
I got to wear some gear, but man, that was an unfair question.
That was a totally softball question.
That was a softball question.
Listen, you can wear a hat or you can win $100 in cash.
Man, that hat had more baby daddy names than a child, man. Come on, man. Come on, right?
I thought that was good. Hey, we're so glad that you're joining us here live in the first round, St. Jude Studios. Chris and Ron doing it for you on a Super Bowl Sunday. Confetti all over the set. Man, our mascot is back there. Somehow he's asleep. And we're having a great day. We're going to talk about everything going on with the Super Bowl today. But I want to get it started off with you out there watching us, supporting our podcast. We hit 500 subscribers yesterday, which was awesome. And the best way that we could have possibly hit it is the way that we hit it. We met 4 guys that were all computer nerds. They're like programming guys.
I know, man.
I know. We were up on campus and they're right here. These are the guys that we met holding up the 500. And from left to right, it's David, Andres, Carlos, and Adrian. They're from FIU, Florida International University. They're all programmers. And FIU is home of the Blue and Gold Panthers, but it's also the home of T.Y. Hilton, NFL wide receiver. It's also the home of World Series champion Mike Lowell.
Yeah.
And he went there. So we want to give big props out. Grow the community of the first round down at FIU. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being our 500 subscriber. These guys were like the coolest guys on the planet yesterday.
They were the best, man. Computer nerds. And these guys are so like, yeah, guy, let's grow the show. They were so hyped that that we actually sat there and talked to them, man.
Yeah, and they're not even passionate about sports us.
I know, and that was the great thing about it.
We've got more people to thank. All of our new subscribers this week. That includes Sam from Campus Apartments in UF. Sam, thank you so much for you and your guys down there at Campus Apartments joining our family here in the St. Jude Studios with the first round. Also, we happen to be up there Saturday and met Extreme Dance Company UF. So this is like this huge student-run organization that takes in people that love to dance. And they were doing crazy stuff around the campus. But again, it was just fortuitous that we got to run into them yesterday. And it was a bunch of UF students, all with great attitudes. It's completely student-run. And they have a huge spring showcase coming up in March. I want you to do us a favor. Everybody out there in our first round family, I want you to Google the Extreme Dance Company GoFundMe page. They have a goal to reach $5,000 to help pay for their huge spring showcase in March. Look up Extreme Dance Company, University of Florida, and their GoFundMe page. They're about halfway to their goal. Give them a couple bucks. Chris and I donated yesterday. They became subs. We're in love with them. Hopefully they'll pump up the first round. You can reach them on Twitter at Extreme Dance UF. So they're good. It was awesome to run into them.
I know, man.
Bunch of positive kids that were out there pumped up. And I hate calling UF students kids because when I went to UF, I was 40 years old.
I know, but Ron, we like the old men in the club now, man. They're kids to us.
And get off my lawn!
Exactly.
We are the old kids in the. I say old kids because I still think of myself as young at heart. But okay, We love all of our new subs. Thank you so much to all the we're at 513 subs right now. Every single one of you. We appreciate you making us a part of your day. Every single day we get an hour in here, 2 hours a week. We try to put something good in your ear, making sure it's entertaining. And we thank you for being a part of our family here and giving us a subscription. The big news today has to be one thing, Chris. It's the Super Bowl.
Yes.
The pregame has been on since, like 3 a.m.
Exactly.
Which I don't know which is worse, the pregame for the Super Bowl or how can we speed up the endings to college basketball games?
I'd say
the basketball games is worse.
Yeah,
because there's so many of them, and we all have to deal with the pregame for the NFL Super Bowl one day.
Exactly.
I know, but they're so bad. We need to talk about that on Wednesday. Wednesdays and Sundays we're here every Wednesday and Sunday live. Super Bowl 54, Chiefs and 49ers. Vivid Seats comes out and says this is the highest demand seat since Vivid started selling seats in 2012. The average price for a ticket for the game is, guess how much? The average price.
The average price, let's say about $2,500.
$2,500, no. Try $5,747.
Are you serious?
The average price. There's a suite going for $20,000 in the Sun Life Terrace or something. But besides that, the average price is $5,747. You can get a real cheap hoopty for $5,700, or you could go watch two teams that you're probably not a fan of.
I'm wow, $5,000. Mm-hmm. I guess it's that Miami nightlife, man.
That's the average price, but you're not paying for the nightlife.
Man, I'm just saying.
You're paying for the game.
You're paying for the atmosphere, though, man. $5,000. I mean,
who's buying these tickets?
That's a good question.
Or am I just out of my mind?
I wouldn't. I mean, hey, you got a 4K TV in there that shows just as good as that game.
Yeah. The 4K TV at my house, there's nothing wrong with that. So what we did was we wanted to put together all these statistics and funny, quirky stats and odds and ends numbers that have to do with the Super Bowl that we normally don't think about, because Wednesday's show, we broke down the game. We gave our predictions. We'll give our predictions out at the end of the segment here today. But mainly, I can't go over any more stats about the game and regurgitate it another time. So what you and I did was we tried to find fun, interesting things about every Super Bowl and this Super Bowl to talk about for this segment of the first round.
Right.
Second Super Bowl where one team, San Francisco, led the conference in rushing and the other team, Kansas City, led their conference in passing.
Wow.
I thought that was a pretty cool stat. And a lot of these don't even have to do with the teams themselves. Right. Some of them do. Some of them are NFL actual game stats. But others are like, how many pounds of ribs are going to be eaten today? It's an amazing number, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. This is an interesting fact that I was looking up last night. I was one of those programming nerds on the computer looking up all these stats. Has the highest NFL QBR at 91 versus the zone. Now, why is that important that we have such a small window on the criterion for this statistic? Because the 49ers play zone 64% of the time, and that's the second most in the NFL. You and I were talking about that yesterday.
Exactly. My point exactly. That's his sweet spot is a team that plays zone, but hey, that's just me. But, interesting enough, there are only 3 teams that have won the most Super Bowls, and guess who those 3 teams are? You have Pittsburgh with 6. You have your New England Patriots with 6.
New England Patriots.
Your New England Patriots with 6.
You're wearing the hat.
And guess who's the last team with 5? San Francisco. So it could be. You could have San Francisco with 6 tonight, New England with 6, and Pittsburgh with 6. Interesting stats.
And that would make me right on my pre-playoff Super Bowl pick. How many people were writing into the first round through email or on Super Chat or talking to us out in on the street the last couple weeks talking about Baltimore and Kansas City? Right. And I had San Francisco since the beginning, day one, since before the playoffs even started. Next stat up for you. Both starting tight ends, Keith Kelsey and George Kittle for San Francisco.
Right.
It's the first time in Super Bowl history that both starting tight ends have caught passes for over 1,000 yards in one season.
Yeah, I remember looking at that stat. I mean, George Kittle, to be honest with you, the guy to me, I've really never heard of him until like recently. I guess because I didn't follow
like
the
this year.
I know, right? I mean, I guess because I didn't really follow the San Francisco because they're on the West Coast, and unfortunately,
You're a
Atlanta
Southerner.
Falcons
Oh,
guy. And
how can you say that?
they suck, but hey, I'm gonna eat that. They sucked. I mean, they've sucked ever since that massive comeback by that team I love to hate.
The one you're wearing.
Exactly. So but I really didn't follow those guys. But I mean, Kittle. He's known as the people's tight end, which is funny.
Why is that?
Because
I'm saying, why is it funny?
I mean, it's funny because it puts you in the mind of The Rock as the people's champ. I mean, he's just a guy that's a man of the people, which is to me is very interesting. I mean, when you're talking about a tight end, because you're thinking a tight end, rough, rugged, just sit there, block, and not really a people person.
Yeah, I think he's a down-to-earth guy, and I also think he's super effective, and I also think he's going to give the Kansas City defense all kinds of fits today. Let's talk about what they're all playing for, which is the Vince Lombardi Trophy. The Vince Lombardi Trophy, the Super Bowl trophy, costs how much to make, Chris?
Ooh, how much to make?
I'll give you a $5,000 window.
Let's see. I would say about $15,000.
You know what? You almost hit it. It's $22,000 it costs to make. It's made out of sterling silver.
Right.
And the inspiration for the base that the Super Bowl, the ball actually sits on is a cereal box.
Really?
The designer from Tiffany & Company was a guy from Switzerland, and he woke up one morning after Pete Rozelle said, we need a trophy, and he was looking, he had the ball on his, I'm not making this up, he had the ball that as inspiration, and he was eating his cereal, and he put the ball up by the box sideways, not long ways, sideways, and he goes, oh, that's the base, and he cut the base out of a cereal box. And that's the inspiration for for Tiffany & Company making the base to the Super Bowl trophy that we have today.
Wow. Another interesting stat for you, Ron. MASH set the record for the most viewed for a final episode for a show.
MASH.
MASH, yeah.
Okay,
MASH, back in 1983. When did the Super Bowl finally break that record?
Wow. It had to be one game when the Patriots were playing, I'm going to guess.
No.
Oh,
yes.
troll.
Yes.
You're trolling me.
No, it was actually in 2010. It was the New England. New England. It was the Indianapolis Colts versus the
Saints?
Yeah, the New Orleans Saints.
Where the Saints came out and had an onside kick after halftime.
Exactly.
Oh,
yes.
that was such a cool win, man. And actually, a friend of mine, two friends of mine, their son owns a restaurant down in New Orleans at the time.
Right.
And the Saints actually let him keep the Super Bowl trophy in his restaurant for a week, which I thought was so cool.
Right.
So, yeah, more interesting stats. Ticket prices, we talk about the ticket prices for the Super Bowl, how they're just astronomical. Right. The average one, according to Vivid this year, was $5,747. How much was the general admission ticket to Los Angeles Coliseum for Super Bowl I?
$12.
That's exactly right. Can you imagine that? Yeah. Nobody had any idea what they were doing with the first 3 or 4 Super Bowls. And the average price was $12. Now, the winning team and the losing team, all the players get a bonus. Right. The winner's bonus for Super Bowl I was how much money?
Ooh, that's a good question. What was it? Probably about $500.
$15,000.
$15,000. Okay.
So everybody on that Packers organization, everybody on the team, got a winning game bonus check of $15,000.
Oh wow!
All the winners today will receive a check for $125,000. It takes me and you like 5 weeks to make $125,000, man.
I know, right? They're doing it like listed like 3 hours, man.
Oh my gosh! $125,000 plus every player that's on the roster for both teams gets a car to drive around in Miami. Now, most of the time, they don't even use the car.
Right.
But as a part of the NFL contract, they get a car if they want to when they get there. But again, a lot of times they're moving around on a team bus or they're in small little limo buses moving around. But I thought that was an amazing stat, man. I need to start playing the NFL.
Man, no. What's a crazy stat is, You know, every player wants to win a team. You know, they win the Super Bowl, and you know they get that saying, "I'm going to Disney World." Guess how much Disney pays them just to say that?
$10,000.
$75,000.
$75,000. Now, how do they figure out? They've got to take like the highest possibility, or if the MVP says that, they get it.
Yes, $75,000.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Just to say, I'm going to Disney World.
Well, we'll see who says it tonight because the game starts in about an hour and a half, and I'm not missing really anything important. First 3 years of the Super Bowl, Chris, it wasn't even called the Super Bowl.
Right.
Do you know what it was called?
Ooh.
Remember, this is the Pete Rozelle era. So Super Bowl,
I guess it was
1, 2, and 3, if you want to call them that. But they weren't even called Super Bowls. What were they called?
Was it? I guess what? The championship games,
Nope.
basically the AFC and NFC
Nope.
championship games. What is it called?
The AFL NFL title game.
Okay.
AFL NFL title game. That was
Title
for the
game.
first 3 years.
Title
and
game,
then
okay.
we always see Super Bowl LIV today, which is funny because one of my favorite nightclubs to hit, if you're down in South Beach, is Live, and another one is called Story. Google both of those and hit them up. They're awesome, but they can't hold a candle to Las Vegas. Omnia is my home. Next year when I turn 21, I am going to have a bash out party at Omnia in Las Vegas. But moving on from that, the Roman numerals that you and I are accustomed to seeing after the Super Bowl, those didn't even start until year 5 of the Super Bowl.
Are you serious?
That's the first year they started using Roman numerals, and Pete Rozelle was actually really against it. But Lamar Hunt, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, whose family still owns the Chiefs today, and when you win the AFC Championship, you win the Lamar Hunt Trophy.
Right.
He actually went to Pete Rozelle and says, to class it up, to add some class to it, we should put Roman numerals after it. Pete Rozelle didn't like it, but Lamar Hunt convinced him to do it, and we've had the Roman numerals ever since.
And see, I mean, it made the Super Bowl classy. So, prop bet. How much money? I'm gonna take you on a bet. I mean, do you?
I love betting. I wanted to bet you on this game. You're 0 for 2 lately on betting me.
No, I'm not buying another Patriots hat. It's just not gonna happen.
Okay, what's the bet?
So, over or under, how many butt shots are you going to see of J-Lo tonight?
That's actually a prop bet that's out there is will she show her butt crack? That's a real bet in Vegas that you could put down.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the over and under is on it. I hope it's 0.
Yeah.
But isn't that a crazy one?
I know, right?
Here's a really cool, interesting fact out there that not a lot of people think of, but guys who have been around gambling for a long time know this one. They always mint a special coin for the Super Bowl.
Right.
And the head side has a lot more stuff on it than the tail side, making it heavier.
Right.
And 17.9% of the time, it lands tails up because of that weight. And the insiders who have gambled for a long time know this and always bet heads.
Really?
I never knew that before.
Oh, wow. That's crazy stuff.
I know, and I'm a myopic, degenerate gambler myself, and I didn't even know that. So let's talk about the actual balls. There's 25 steps to making the balls for the Super Bowl that aren't used in any other game in the regular season, and each team gets 108 of these balls that have 25 specific steps to them. And here's the other thing. The balls that were used in today's game have never been used before, and they have 6 words on them. Commissioner, Wilson, and I just spaced out. That's your homework for this week is to find out what those other 4 words are. There's only 6 words on it though.
And wow, on the 6 words.
Yep.
On the football.
That's it. Wilson's one of them. Commissioner's one of them. And now I just spaced out and I can't remember what the other one is. Forget it. So here's something that's amazing. We've been talking about all these stats about past Super Bowls, but this Super Bowl, if I said to you, what website do I need to go on so I could get an e-ticket for the game? Name some sites I could go to.
Let's see. You have SeatGeek, StubHub,
Vivid. Yeah. You know what?
NFL.
All of those, you can't buy an e-ticket. The NFL only allows paper tickets to this day.
Oh, wow.
There are no e-tickets. There are no e-tickets to this game. So you can go to all kinds of events in the world today,
Right.
and you just show them your phone, which I think is crazy. But there are still no e-tickets. Every single ticket for the Super Bowl in 2020 is a paper ticket.
Oh wow! So they actually you have to purchase the tickets, and they have to mail them to you.
That's right. They got to mail you the tickets after you buy them, and the tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
We know that. But what's the most expensive 30-second ad that will be sold today by Fox? How much money are we talking for the most expensive 30-second ad?
You're probably talking about a Budweiser ad, and you're probably talking about like anywhere between $2.5 million.
How about $12.4 million for a 30-second ad at Super Bowl 54? $12.4 million for a 30-second ad.
Hey, Ron, we need to get our ads up on Super Bowl. Right? We got to get our game up, man.
More statistics about money. The city of Miami, it's going to cost them money to put on the Super Bowl because you got to have increased security.
Right.
You got to have rerouting and public transit and everything. It's going to cost the city of Miami about $14 million to host the Super Bowl. So I think there's a good chance that they could make that money back. Do you think that they could make more than $14 million that they're investing? Let's just say $15 million with security.
I mean, yeah, they've made that money back a million times over. I mean, with everybody coming into the city, I mean, the spending at the shops and whatnot, yes, so they made that money back a million times over.
The projected income from the Super Bowl 54 week in Miami is $500 million.
Yeah.
$500 million.
Yeah.
And here's the one cool thing that the NFL says to each city that wins the right to host these Super Bowl, they have to come up with 10,000 volunteers for 10 days. That's to run the NFL experience. That's ticket takers. That's people that are directing traffic. Those are people that are monitoring the parking lots for all the different events that they put on. Because it's not just the Super Bowl. They have the NFL experience. They have the Old Timers game. They have the Hall of Fame ceremony stuff. All that stuff. They got to get 10,000 people to volunteer for the 10 days leading up to the Super Bowl. So that's a really good deal for Miami because they don't have to pay for all that.
No, they don't.
They put out $14 million. They got $500 million coming in.
That's interesting. You know, crazy stat is I didn't know the NFL actually had like a limitation on hotels. Like you have to have enough hotel accommodation in order for the NFL to actually bring the Super Bowl to your city. Crazy stat was 2005 when Jacksonville hosted the Super Bowl. Guess what? They didn't have the accommodation. Guess what they did?
They never gave a Super Bowl to Jacksonville again. They shouldn't have that year.
They brought in cruise ships to be floating hotels.
Get out of here. That's a smart move.
Yeah, they brought in five major cruise ships to be, floating hotels to meet the NFL's accommodation.
And that was the Super Bowl in Jacksonville.
What
the New England Patriots won over the Eagles that year, right?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk about the average hotel rate for Super Bowl week. So one night, what's the average? So you got penthouses, you got Easy 8 motels. What's the average for one night during Super Bowl week in Miami this year for a hotel?
Oh, Miami is already kind of pricey, so I'm looking at probably about $1,500.
$500 is the average price. That's the average for one night.
Yeah.
The average. That's crazy to me. That's from one day. Here's the sick part about it. That's up 60% from 2019, just last year. It went up 60%. So there's a lot of demand for this game for some reason. Let's talk about food. So we're going to have the average Super Bowl party has 17 people at it.
Right.
It was actually 17.4. The average Super Bowl party has 17 people. Let's talk about all that food that's going to get consumed in the next couple hours.
Right.
1.4 billion chicken wings.
Yeah.
1.4 billion with a B. Billion chicken wings. How many pounds of ribs do you think people are going to eat today?
Man, we're talking about anywhere from about 5 million pounds of ribs.
You better double that. 10 million pounds of ribs are estimated to be consumed today. 1.2 million pounds of chips. And what are we forgetting?
We got beer, man.
We got to have beer. 52 million cases of beer are estimated to be consumed in this game.
Yikes.
That leads me to my next statistic, which is 10.6% of all employees will call in sick Tomorrow.
Yes.
Because of all that beer.
And all the chicken wings.
And all the chicken wings is just eating too much.
Exactly.
Their team's losing. Their team was never in it. They're upset. They're turned into food. They don't go to work tomorrow. 10.6% of the working population.
That might be me tomorrow.
Yeah, you can hang here. You know what? I'm not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I bet you're not, guy. Yeah. Well,
Hey, here's another one. How much guacamole, how many pounds of guacamole will be consumed?
ooh, I see about 2.5.
8 million pounds of guacamole is
What?
estimated to be eaten today.
Why am I
8
putting
million
everybody
pounds.
on a diet today, man? I'm just
No,
all
you
these
can't
low
talk about a
numbers,
diet
man.
on. This is Super Bowl Sunday.
Putting
Who's
everybody on a
dieting?
diet, it seems like. I mean, I'm so low in these numbers.
Oh yeah, you are. I think you're undervaluing the popularity of procreation in America.
I know,
People
man.
like making more people. It seems to be fun.
I know, man.
Let's talk about wagering.
Okay.
So some states have started legalizing wagering.
Right.
13 states you can go wager legally, or you can have an account like me.
Right.
And I live in one state, and my account is in another state.
Ah.
And nobody
okay.
really says too much about it because I'm losing most of the time anyway. But I was gonna say something that I'm gonna bite my tongue. I'm gonna bite my tongue on this one. How much money is going to be legally wagered? Legally wagered just on today's games. Prop bets, over unders.
Are we talking about Vegas, or are we just talking about
Just
in general?
legally in the United States, legally, because you go to New Jersey and wager.
Okay, so legally,
How many millions of dollars?
I'm gonna say about $500 million, close to $500 million.
You're pretty close. 325 million will be legally wagered on Super Bowl 54. 6,000 journalists will be covering Super Bowl 54. I don't even know how you get there's not even 6,000 newspapers, and who's reading newspapers anyway? 6,000 journalists?
I mean, yeah, Ryan, you got to think you have journalists from all over the world is going to be at that game tonight. I mean, you have people from Germany. You're going to have Mexico. You're going to have all these different countries covering this game. This is probably one of the world's largest events.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, we've seen over the past 5 to 6 years how the NFL is expanding to Great Britain. They've expanded and started playing games down in Mexico City. The Patriots are supposed to play down there next year. I can't remember who they're playing, but they're scheduled to play down there for the second time. Right. And Roger Goodell has come out in the last couple of years and said, hey, we want to open it up to Japan. Now, right. Who in God's green earth wants to fly all the way over to Japan to watch a game or to participate in a game? It's bad enough, that we have to go to Great Britain, and there's nothing against these countries. They're just so far away.
I know.
That's the point.
It's far away, but then, again, who wants to wake up 9:30 in the morning to watch a football game, though? I mean, the game's on so early.
Yeah, that's true. So, if it was over in Mexico, if it was in Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
What time? They've got to inconvenience the Japanese for our national pastime, right?
Right.
I don't know how. They're not going to have a Super Bowl over there, but just to watch a game.
Yeah.
I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. That really kind of reminds me of like Major League Baseball unofficially starting the season, even though the games count, over in, Japan at 4 a.m. I mean, there's just something anti-American about that.
I mean, come on, ladies and gents. We're not going to be staying up like the ladies did for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's wedding. We're not going to get up 4 o'clock in the morning watching that. That's just not going to happen. Come on, NFL.
Hashtag who
Get
cares?
it together, man. Get it together,
I am so
NFL.
over Royals. I mean, they have to wipe their butt like us. They're just regular, normal people. How come we're not celebrating, some vet that married his high school, bride? Why are they so important over there? I mean, don't even get me started on that one. According to WalletHub.com, Chris, what percentage of people that watch the Super Bowl ads, which is a big thing today, change their mind about the product? What percentage?
Ooh, I'd say about 25%.
80% of them do not change their mind or their opinion about the product that they're watching. So I don't know if those are very effective because you're paying a lot of money.
Right.
You're casting a big, wide net.
Yeah.
But 80% of the people who are watching it doesn't affect them negatively or positively about the product that they're selling.
I mean, no. I mean, really, it's people watch those ads just to get a laugh, get a chuckle. I mean, they've probably already tried those products anyway, so.
Which brings me to my next statistic. 23% of viewers polled said the commercials are the best part of the Super Bowl. Now, how can that possibly be? Almost a quarter of the people think that the commercials for the Super Bowl are better than the actual game?
Man, look, Ryan.
Are they looking at how good the Patriots have been the last 10, 20 years in the Super Bowl? This is a superior product.
I mean, Ryan, look, I seriously used to work with somebody at a job, and she would seriously skip the Super Bowl. She would not watch the Super Bowl at all.
She's missing the best part.
She literally would go to YouTube just to watch the ads.
Wow. Ron and Chris here on a Super Bowl Sunday in our St. Jude studios, talking about everything with the Super Bowl, celebrating our 500th subscriber just yesterday. 4 great guys from FIU. And we're talking about our listeners writing in. You guys have questions and comments. You can reach us on Twitter at @TheFirstRound1. Or, like these guys did, get a hold of us here at the show, thefirstrroundrd@gmail.com. We're going to get to some of the questions. At Jade McNamara asks, can the 49ers win if Jimmy G doesn't throw for 300 yards, Chris?
Can they win? Yeah, they can win. I mean, anybody, you can. I mean, they've been doing it.
So does he need – well, I look at what they did, and I think that's a good question from Jade. I look at what he did, 6 or 8 attempts against Green Bay, and they absolutely manhandled Green Bay. So I don't think he needs to throw for 300 yards to have an effective day or for them to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't – he doesn't need to. However, if it gets to a point where Kansas City gets that offense rolling, he's going to have to put the ball in the air. He's going to have to do it.
I think if KC gets it going, you don't abandon the run if you're San Francisco. Because your defense is still that good.
Yeah, but I mean, if they get their offense rolling, which they're known to do by the second quarter, which is they score the most points in the second quarter. If they get that defense rolling, I mean, he's going to have to put that ball in the air. It's going to be more than 8 attempts this day.
More questions from our listeners. This one's from Clifford Rand Smith, Rand, R-A-N-D. If KC wins the Super Bowl 54, does that make them the team to beat in the NFL for the next 5 years?
I think they're going to be one of the toughest teams. The hardest thing about being in the NFL.
But is that going to make them the team to beat?
We will have to see, because as the old saying goes, no team in the NFL stays the same year in, year out. So it just depends if they're able to keep the nucleus of their players together.
Yeah, here's my answer for you, Clifford. I think that they are not going to be the team to beat even if they win today, because you still have to go out and win the season next year. You got to win the playoffs next year, and then you got to win this big, huge bowl game, Super Bowl, next year. And when you look at the landscape of the NFL, I think there's a lot of parity at the top of the food chain. So you've got – I think New England is still going to be there. I think they're going to make a lot of offseason moves. And as bad as people say that New England was this year, they still went 12-4 and made it to the playoffs with a home game in the first round. I think you've definitely got to look at Baltimore. Offensively, defensively, they've got a great coach. They have the NFL's new MVP in Lamar Jackson. They're going to be there. I think the Chiefs are going to be one of the teams that are going to be there because they're so explosive and because they've turned their defense around in the last 2 years. They're actually ranked in the top 10 defensively. The last couple of years, when we talk about Gunther Cunningham, their defensive coordinator, and the players that they've had on the defensive side, you can never say that. I think you got to look at San Francisco. I don't think the Saints are out of it. I think Minnesota could be there. Then you start getting into the second-tier teams. I know you're going to pump the brakes right now. You got to pump the brakes on Tennessee. I think they had a freakish year. They have a huge question at quarterback. I don't know if they're in that upper echelon yet, even though they had a great finish to the regular season. Our last question comes from Chief Maddock 816. So 816 is out of Kansas City. Chief Maddox says, is it worth breaking the bank to pay millions of dollars to Mahomes on a long-term deal?
At this rate, I mean, yes. I mean, Mahomes is shaping up to be – he may be a generational quarterback. I mean, you have a guy who's putting the ball on the money. He's a dual threat guy. I mean, he can give you plays. He can run the ball. He can also pass the ball. He's very accurate. And then, I mean, you have those receivers. I mean, he's hitting these guys on the dime. So, yes, he's the type of guy that you have to go ahead and you have to lock him up.
So, okay, so let's say that I would want to lock him up too. He's going to want $40 to $45 million a year. If Dak, who has won one playoff game in his whole career, is asking for $30 million, or they offered him $30 and he said no. So we're going to say Dak is in that $30 million to $32 million ballpark, which I think is way overpriced for him. And we know Kirk Cousins got $86 million guaranteed over 3 seasons, so he's around $30 million a year. Now you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who's actually made it to a Super Bowl, which neither of those two guys has. Far better talent. I'm with you. I think he is a generational talent. But what's Patrick Mahomes going to want? $40 million a year for what? 1 or 2 years? No way. He's going to want to get locked up on a 6 or 7 year deal, and he's going to want a lot of that money front ended. So if he does get into an injury situation, or they do not keep building and they start deteriorating, he wants to make sure that he's got his money. I don't think you break the bank. If I'm KC, I'm in the $36 to $38 million range for 5 or 6 years. The stat that we always talk about is the magic number in sports, 33. Yeah. All the matrix start heading downhill, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, or basketball. When you hit 33, all your numbers start going down exponentially. And he's not he's not near 33 now, but I don't want to have a huge front-loaded or back-ended contract coming up right now that's going to break the bank and not allow me to continue to rebuild. That has been what's made the Patriots so successful is, one, Tom Brady taking a hometown discount for so many years, but also bringing in guys that want to win and aren't exactly the most expensive, most talented players. I think about Carl Van Noy. They kicked him off the end of the bench in Detroit, and the Patriots basically got him for a song and dance. Think about all of the Pro Bowl or the Hall of Fame players that Tom Brady's had around him. I mean, you can't name 2 wide receivers. You could say Randy Moss and Gronk, but over the past 20 years when they've been a dynasty, he doesn't have Hall of Fame running backs. He hasn't had Hall of Fame tight ends or wide receivers besides Gronk, and he hasn't had Hall of Fame a line in front of him on the offensive line. They just bring in smart players that understand what it's all about, which is winning championships and building a dynasty and a legacy for yourself and the team you play for. And they don't go out and sign huge astronomical contracts.
Yeah, I mean, if I am, Patrick Mahomes right now, I'm going to kind of bet on myself, and I'm going to take a short-term contract. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and, take the short-term contract, kind of like your guy in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I'm going to take a short-term contract, bet on myself. Then that allows the team to also go ahead and keep some of those players as well. So that's me. If it was me, I'm betting on myself.
We appreciate you guys writing in questions to the show. Again, you can get a hold of us here at the First Round RD for questions and comments about the show. We'll read them on the air and make sure that we give you guys a plug. It's good to have interaction with the fans, and today's just an odd day. We're usually on at 6 o'clock, but we're talking about everything going on with the Super Bowl. Chris and I here in the St. Jude studios. We want to talk about one of our great sponsors out there, Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Get a hold of Geico today. Go to geico.com to see how much you can save. And by Capital One Quick Silver Card. Earn 1.5% cash back on unlimited purchases. Capital One asks you what's in your wallet. So, Chris, on a Super Bowl Sunday, before we get to other things going on in the world of sports here in the St. Jude studios, let's get our final predictions on this big Super Bowl Sunday. Give it to me in 60 seconds.
I think this is going to be Andy Reid's defining moment. I think this is what locks him up as a Hall of Fame head coach. And I see the score going Kansas City 30-31, San Francisco 26.
So I've got almost the same score as you. The score that I've got on Super Bowl 54 is 31-23, except I've got San Francisco. We talked earlier in the week on the Wednesday show about how defense wins championships. In the last 30 years, 2 teams that have been ranked in the top 5 offensively in the NFL have won Super Bowls. So offense looks awesome. It's like showing cotton candy to a hungry man. The cotton candy tastes good. It's all puffy, and you're thinking, oh, man, it's going to fill me up. But the minute you eat it, it rots your teeth, it doesn't fill you up, and it leaves you unsatisfied. And that's what I think when it comes to dynamic offenses in the NFL. A great example this year would be Lamar Jackson. Yeah. One of the most dynamic offensive teams this year and players, and yet one game and they're out. He's been playing golf for 3 weeks. So I'm going to go San Francisco 31-23 to get it done over KC. I think KC's got a great team. To me, these are clearly 2 of the best teams in the NFL this year. I'm expecting an awesome game, but we've seen underdogs win by 30. We've seen favorites win by 40. Anything can happen. Fumbles, freak things, onside kicks coming out of the halftime show. Speaking of the halftime show, give me how much at 1 to 100. 100 is you absolutely have to see this show. Where's your number at for J-Lo and Shakira?
J-Lo and Shakira, I mean, I wasn't really amped about the show. I'm more amped about some of the collaboration they're supposed to, quote unquote, have with this this halftime show. But really, I'm sticking to about a 4.
4 out of 100 or 40?
4. I mean, I'm going to 4 out of 10 on that, man.
Okay, so this isn't something that's really on your radar.
It's not really. I mean,
so our producer Ray Boom Boom just handed me all the notes for the lineup for Super Bowl 54. I've got them right here. And so, what else is going on in the world of sports, Chris?
Finally, it seems like Antonio Brown has come to his senses. America, this guy, he comes out. He apologizes to the NFL. He finally, admits that he's been a cancer to the league. And, hopefully he's getting help, to get himself back on track. And hopefully, he can restart his career.
Yeah, he came out yesterday and said, I owe an apology to the whole NFL, to the entire NFL. Yeah. I'm not sure mentally if he's in a place where, I'm putting a lot of validity in that. But, I'm not going to worry about it. I want the best for the guy. So do you. I think we all do. I'd like to see him turn it around. He's an incredibly talented person. He's a more valued human being. That music can mean only one thing. First of all, we want to thank all of you, the 500 subscribers that we've got in the last 2 months. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Chris and I will be right back here Wednesday night, 7 o'clock in the St. Jude studios. I want to thank my support staff on the board. Ray Boom Boom Mancini, the man to my left. Chris Roberts, for all of us here in the St. Jude studios. I want to say thank you so much. Join us right here live on YouTube Wednesday talking about everything going on in the world of sports. Until then, take care, everybody.